Welcome to Two Keys in the Pod. I'm Shantiana Keys.
And I'm Andriana Keys.
And we made it back after 2 weeks. That's almost a miracle for us. It was hard because Andriana apparently has 8 million jobs and works more than I do. And I have a full-time gig. But we're back, baby.
So one of my friend Jordan, he told me that I got 27 jobs. So both of y'all think the same.
Like, I once heard Jesus from Jesus and Meryl say, got more jobs than a Jamaican. And I didn't know that was a stereotype for Jamaicans, but I guess it fits here. Okay. As you know, well, we had a March Madness podcast 2 weeks ago. But since that has happened, a lot of basketball has happened. So we had the Final Four, we had national championship. Obviously, you have all the stuff with the portal, and then you have the WNBA Draft that happened last night. So we got a lot to cover. Okay, so if you don't like basketball, this is probably not the podcast for you this week. But let's get started. The Final Four. What are your takeaways, your thoughts? Let's just talk about the semifinal games first, so we can break it down. Yeah.
And because guess
LSU,
what?
LSU, Virginia Tech, and then Iowa, South Carolina. So obviously the big one being that South Carolina lost.
Yes. Okay. That's crazy because I was forgetting one team out of the four. But anyway,
who was it?
I don't think Virginia Tech, to be honest, and they were in the championship.
Fair.
But that South Carolina Iowa game was obviously very wild and very good. But Iowa and me having played against them and being in the same conference, they always gonna come with some type of game plan, some type of junk defense, and that's exactly what they did. And South Carolina had absolutely no answers for it.
But I don't know that it was something like that nobody had tried. I mean, I feel like teams sagged off like, hey, you don't have a lot of shooters. It just worked out for them more often than not. And Aaliyah Boston not being out with 2 fouls first half probably, changed.
Yeah.
So it wasn't some mastermind game plan, but it was enough, especially when you got to compete against the amount of scoring that they were able to produce. It was like a perfect storm.
Yeah. But also too, I think I saw one other team and I can't remember who it was. It was a home game for South Carolina and they sagged. But I mean, that girl was in the paint.
Oh yeah, it was disrespectful.
It was very deep. So
yeah. Obviously a lot of people saw on social media the wave off she had. Caitlin Clark being she waved off, I think, Raven Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Raven Johnson ended up hitting 3 of them, I think, and I don't think they calculated that into the mix. And, when you think about it, it was, I think, a 1 possession game at the end, maybe 2. People say, can criticize the approach and not making enough shots, but the reality is they were still 2 possessions from making it to the national championship game. So it was just a really bad game for them. But for most people, that would have been solid.
I don't know. They looked a mess. But
I understand.
How about
I'm saying that high power, we're still saying they're 2 possessions away from going to the national championship. It's not like it's a bad game for them. But I think if other people play that game and they score 70 plus points, that's a okay game.
I don't know, but as a national championship, the previous year, the coach of the year and all this stuff, there had to be some type of game plan to or talk to the point guards hey, let's take 1 or 2 dribble pull up, because assuming y'all know how to do that, are we still just facilitating, not even looking at the rim and we're just passing because that's your job? Or how about let's take advantage of what they're doing, because I know you know how to do a pull-up jumper, and do that, and let's get some points from there possibly. I don't know, but maybe they should have tried me here at the point guard position and to go and do a floater or dunk it or something down the middle. I don't know. But
right.
I thought there was no type of switch up of anything on that
Well,
side.
the switch up was they started to let Raven actually shoot the ball. It was okay, you're going to have to take the looks. That worked until it didn't work. But yeah, no, I would have liked to see me here. And I'll also say the run that they had in the second half without Aaliyah Boston had some different players in the game as well, not the starting 5. So I thought that was interesting that some of them didn't ever make it back in the game.
Yeah.
I think it just brought a level of, I think, height and maybe athleticism that wasn't in that first group. But,
Yeah.
you know, they never went back with it. And I'm assuming they went, go with what got you here. They went with, you know, this is how we made our money. So they assumed that eventually they'd go on a run maybe. Which I think with coaching, that's what it always comes down to. You think, well, this is what we practice. This is what we're good at. Like, let's do that thing. And yeah, people can talk about adjustments forever and a day, but like, I think Gino said at halftime about Iowa in the national championship game where it was like, Iowa, if they had something else defensively, they would have already tried it. It was like I said, it was halftime, and it's like there's only so much adjusting you can do outside of your identity. But I get what you're saying. Attacking the basket, that's obviously should be in their repertoire, their point guards, whatever.
They could have absolutely made adjustments. Iowa on defense absolutely could not, because that is just, like you said, that's what they got on defense. That's the best they can give. Mm-hmm. But I refuse to believe that's the best South Carolina had to give offensively. I just know that anybody on that team, forget the point guard being your facilitator, because you got her, whoever it is, one of the two that's not scoring at all and is just out there to pass it to everybody. You got a wing player that's not a scorer either. You got three people who you relying on to try to score, and one is being chased to death around the court. And two of them are post players, are packed in the paint. So it's like there had to be something different, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that different thing is personally, but I mean, obviously you got to do something different in the game like that. But again, I think you don't adjust because you got Aaliyah Boston on the bench and you think, oh, okay, well, when she comes back in, we're going to get this. And then like, okay, well, now you're in the second half. Okay, if it doesn't happen in the third, it's like, so you're kind of chasing your tail, I think, at a point. But yeah, I mean, it went how it went, and that's just, but you won't hear me criticizing Dawn Staley, so that's that on that. But, you know, I imagine she probably will find a few shooters in the recruiting class in the future. I think that might be true, but I just feel like that's been a criticism of her teams anyway. Like, even when Littleton, is that her name? Mm-hmm. Destiny Littleton was on the team. Like, she was the only shooter. Like, Henny could shoot, but it wasn't like she was a shooter. Now, if they had a point guard like Henny, like, that game's very different. But I also think Raven was not used to even playing that number of minutes. I mean, Fletcher basically was a lot, like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I mean, it literally was like she was non-existent in that game. So I always say a freshman it's always going to catch up to you. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, moving on to the second game. Virginia Tech, LSU. This one can be a lot quicker. I don't think there was anything extraordinary.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech got off to a rough start. Was that one close? They got up a lot, and LSU came back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, kudos to LSU. A lot of people didn't expect that they would make it to the national championship game.
Or win it all.
Oh, well, certainly not that. But, yeah. Unlike what I said about Dawn Staley, very different for Kim Mulkey. Anyways, that's just a whole nother thing. But
she
yeah,
know how to win. So hey,
yeah, but you know, there's more to be said than winning. I'd absolutely. Dawn Staley is going to a lot more weddings. Okay, we'll put it that way. Than Kim Mulkey, and that is what it is. So, and I think that'll serve her well by the end. Anyway, Dawn Staley's gonna get more national championships than Kim Mulkey, so you know, there will be a way to win that is better than she has figured out. So, LSU came out swinging in the national championship game. Clearly thought that they could beat them. Now, I will say again, out of the ordinary. Certainly, the number of threes that they knocked down, but some days you just got to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, but I mean, the one minus a couple people, I feel like the ones that could shoot threes made the threes. They found their confidence back because they could shoot before at the beginning of the season, whatever. And
Carson being one of the big ones. Yeah.
Carson being one. Flau'jae hit a couple, and she in high school shoot. That's what she was shooting threes.
Ooh, she had some nerves at the beginning of that game.
So
you could see all that.
So her confidence, and like you said, she's a freshman anyway. So, but she found it, and yeah, they knocked them down. They played with confidence. They knew that they could beat Iowa, and they did it. And I'm happy they did it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the conversation heading into that game was very much so like a two Americas situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's unfortunate because we all just want to watch basketball for the fun of basketball, but that really did not feel like, it felt like a lot. So we're glad that justice prevailed. But it was a good game. Like, even when they were getting blown out, I still felt like good basketball was being played. Like, I felt like it was a good product to be on ESPN. Like, I didn't ever feel like there wasn't excitement to it.
Well, when they was down 20 or whatever at halftime, and I'm like, I was telling Mom, like, oh yeah, this game ain't over because Iowa shoots threes. That's what they can do, and you can get back in the game quickly. And then Rebecca Lobo, I think, said it the same thing at halftime.
Andriana said she could do this job.
I could do all of these jobs. Like, this is ridiculous. But
mercy, yeah, I'm sure. No, but all in all, great product. The big story though that came out of it was Angel Reese doing the John Cena "You Can't See Me" sign and following Caitlin Clark around the floor. You didn't originally see it when it was happening, yeah. And I said, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" She just literally walked behind her. But yeah, that's what played on social media, on TV, Sports Center, all that for the next several days. Do you think that is like good for the game? Because that's obviously the conversation being had.
Yeah, I do, because it's not like it was anything bad. So people got around it and people were talking about it for days. Like, even people that weren't basketball people, I feel like were talking about it. But my opinion, like I said on maybe the last podcast or whatever I say on my social media, like, things are allowed to happen, that Caitlin Clark and Haley Van Lith and whoever else gets to do something, but these black women try to do it, and they're portrayed as something else. So I didn't like it. And like I said, I can say this because I've watched so many basketball games and watched Iowa all season. I probably could count on one hand how many Iowa games I missed. And so, like, I know how Caitlin Clark acts on the court. And then to see Angel, and I've seen a bunch of their games. And yes, I saw when she did a little TikTok dance and all this stuff, Their styles might be different in some way. No, Caitlin Clark ain't doing no dance, but she's talking to people. Of course, trash talk is a thing, and all the men will be like, this is normal and whatever. And she's hyping up the crowd and doing all this other stuff. Whatever, it's still antics during the game. And I'm fine with Angel Reese. She dished it back out. Now, did she need to walk around and follow? Who cares? I don't know if she needed to do that. I don't know if she did need to do that, but she did it. And let it go. And that's it. She ain't touched the girl. So boom, like, whatever. She was being annoying and she went in her face, and that's it. So moving on. Like, that's how I felt about it. So
yeah. No, I think good for the game in that, again, I can't remember any national championship where people were talking about it a week later. I can't remember. Even going into that game, you could feel the tension of it, but you could see the hype around it too, because you had these two players that social media has seen, the world has seen on the big stage already, because of the antics, if you want to call it, like what Angel has been doing, and what Caitlin Clark has been able to produce. So, like, you had these big storylines coming into it, and then Like, again, and I think they would have talked about that for maybe a day or two. But because you had these two big players, these two headlines, and those two clashed, like, that's where you get, you know, all the media talking about it. People, like you said, I'm like, had I been at school, I'm sure those kids would have just been, they would have had a debrief. Coach Keys, what do you think about that? Was that crazy? Like,
yeah.
But
well, the media, as far as like the ones that posted it, that type of media, they were fine with it. They were like, oh, look at what she did. You know, it's just other people outside and whatever.
Right. Middle America was giving racism as usual, but
yeah, it was just, different. And of course, when Caitlyn did this, John Cena even tweeted at her or something, I think. But now it's all different. Everybody was like, look at what she did. Woo, woo, woo. No, that girl did. She claimed she did it to her coach, which, anyways, you did this as Haley Van Lith walked by you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying Caitlin Clark said she did that to her coach. Got you.
You did it as Haley went by you like this at the perfect time.
Right.
Anyways.
Either way, it's unfortunate. If it is, it's just unfortunate timing.
Yeah. Whatever.
Because, that's all people talk to. Of course, it was like the side by side of those two doing the same thing, which, again, like in fairness, you have to be able to do the comparison. But
yeah. Hey, look, both great players. Ain't nobody taking away from what Caitlyn did. Ain't nobody going to take away from what Angel did, because I need people to still understand. They're like, oh, well, Caitlyn scored 40, triple-double, blah, blah. Angel averaged like 20-plus points a game and 15-plus rebounds for the season. So,
right.
I don't know if y'all know statistics, but that's ridiculous. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And certainly they have put some respect on her name. She has over, I think it was like, well, she had 1 million followers probably like 5 days ago on TikTok. So I can only imagine it's a lot more. So her NIL money is going up. The price is going up for Angel Reese. And hopefully, you know, she's able to cash in on the moment. And yeah, I think she'll be exciting to watch for the next 2 years. And then you got one more year, Caitlin Clark. I know we're going to talk about the WNBA draft in a second, but I just started to think, like, what do you think would be the best team minus players? Like, what location would be the best location for Caitlin Clark?
No, I mean, this is just testing my geography at this point. Where is she from? Minnesota? Did I make that up? No, she's not from Minnesota.
From Iowa?
She is from Iowa. Okay. So whatever team is closest there, I don't know. It might be Minnesota.
Okay, she said she grew up. I thought she said she grew up going to Sky games, but it's probably Minnesota, the Sky, and Indiana. I mean, I imagine those are the only three right there.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the Sky. One, because I had heard that quote, but two, like, I think that would be a good place for people in the Midwest to like travel to go to games.
Yeah.
Like, it's a city. It draws people. Like, in Minnesota, look, I'm sorry. I know fans in Minnesota will travel there.
I was going to say, they got good fan base.
Right, but I think Chicago draws everywhere from the Midwest. And so you're not limited to, like, Iowa fans are going to go to Chicago to see her.
Yeah.
Seems like they'll go anywhere.
I was going to say, they're going to go anywhere at this point, so.
Because they really showed up and showed out.
Yeah.
For all of their tournament games, really. But yeah, I started to think about that because I don't want to see her like in a Sparks uniform or.
Yeah.
Like, it just, to me, like, capitalize on the demographic where she is.
Yeah, it's got to be over there somewhere. But who knows? It gets tricky because Paige also is from Minnesota. Paige, if she leaves too, will Minnesota want to get her? Like,
girl, people are going to see Paige wherever she goes. Like, I think, like, for her identity hasn't been tied to that area. Like, yeah, I get it. Everybody knows she's like, well, I don't want to say everybody knows she's from Minnesota, but she's from Minnesota. But I just feel like she would thrive, well, in the cities. I don't care to see anybody in, no shade. Well, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna move along. There's some places I don't care to see like big time marquee players. Like let's capitalize on areas to have people, or are at least easy to travel to, or our destination place for people. So anyway,
Or start drafting people from the college that they went to. Then, like if you got a college in that area and you went there, like Grace went to Indiana Fever got her.
Right.
Fans are gonna be there.
Right.
Like,
yeah, no, that's certainly a way to do it. Now, obviously, the way the draft works, I don't know if
right. Well, maybe they need to see where the biggest colleges fan base, and they need to get a WNBA team there as well.
I mean, South Carolina, Connecticut already has one. Tennessee doesn't have one. Okay, moving on to the portal. A lot has happened. I think the portal's been open for 3 seasons now, and it's getting more chaotic by the year.
Seemed like it's been open for forever at this point, like 5 seasons. Oh, I don't know. I feel like as soon as I got out, that thing was open. Like, I don't know.
Well, that could be true. I don't know. I just know that there's obviously been a lot of discourse around it the last little bit of time, but some notable ones that you want to mention.
Would save the big one for last, I guess.
No.
Go.
Go.
Haley Van Lith. Destiny Wells, which a lot of people might not know her. She was at Belmont, but she's their best player. Very good. Point guard going to Tennessee. Maria Gagdang, post player, Boston College's best player, going to North Carolina.
Sedona Prince. That one was a strange one to me. I get it. Her coach is there. Did you say she was from Texas?
Yeah.
Okay, from Texas. So, yeah, I guess that, works out, makes sense.
And it's limited. What you gonna do? Go back to Texas? Like, no. Because wasn't she at Texas before?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think so.
I mean, did she play for Vic?
Mm-mm.
So, yeah.
Well, I know, but...
go back to Texas.
She could be free. Like you said, that coach is there.
Right, she gonna rock out, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Morrow. That was a big one. People were going crazy. I follow a bunch of coaches on Twitter. You could tell people were shocked at that one. I am interested to see where Haley Van Lith goes, though. She had a do not contact on in the portal, which people usually either says they already know where they're going, or they kind of have an idea of who they want to try to go after. You had, I think, did we talk about Pow Pow on the last one? Was she already in the portal then?
I don't know, but that is a big one. And I feel like she's very, under the radar, low-key.
Yeah.
Like, basketball people, the media, they know about her, but she's good. And she's been hit with injuries and stuff, which I think hasn't helped. But, yeah, she's nice.
And then I know Jada Curry from Berkeley ended up at Louisville, which everybody thought, okay, she's pairing up with Van Lith. Obviously, Van Lith had other plans. But yeah, no, those are the big ones. Those will be interesting to see. Obviously, the same discourse. We could have that conversation about how impactful is the portal? Should we have the portal? Should there be a one-time transfer rule? I think all those things are good conversation, but they don't matter unless the NCAA changes it. So it's
just don't do them. I mean, look, anything is better than what they was doing to us, which is
forcing you to stay places.
Yeah, forcing you to stay, blocking you from going to places if you did try to leave, and then having to sit out no matter what, before you could play again. So
no, I think if you transfer more than once, okay, maybe, or graduate transfers or whatever, because that's what it started as. Graduate transfers were never, I won't say never penalized. They got the ability to transfer without sitting out a year, and everybody else had to sit that year. And then obviously now they moved to everybody just free to move, but that comes with consequences. But you also have to weigh the impact of it on the athlete experience. Is it making their experience as an athlete better? Okay, well then, what is there to be said about it? A big thing I was always worried about was okay, does the mental health of these people improve when they leave these schools that they don't like? But, and I saw a coach mention it, You don't know what the reason is that they left. Sometimes they like the coach fine, they like the players fine, but they're looking for something else, a different opportunity, maybe pursuing a different master's degree. I don't know that happens all the time, but whatever the case, we have no idea what the reason is. They want to get together to try to win their last year. They want a conference champion, whatever it is, valid. Now, again, do you need to do it 3 times? I don't think so.
I will say I got sent something today that said Haley's Van lists the best places she could go, I think, for LSU, South Carolina, Miami, and IU. And I just want to say, I don't care about none of them. Miami, that would be like a NIL situation, I think, which the 2 main NIL girls have left. But I think that came out before they announced this. The Cavender twins that they weren't going back.
But even then, what is she gonna do? Join in their TikToks or something?
I don't know, but I will throw up if she goes.
Be the third
IU.
blonde.
That's all I have to say.
IU is Indiana.
Yes, I will throw up sick. Okay.
Why would she go to Indiana?
Exactly. That's the same thing I was thinking. Like, why? Because they need a point guard. Like, no.
Okay, but she's not even like a traditional point guard. So who needs?
I mean, she could be off the ball too. They got somebody that can handle. Anyways,
who's about to be left there? Please tell me. I know the tall blonde girl, the shooter.
4
really?
of the 5. Yeah.
The post player?
Yes, she has another year.
Oh, girl.
COVID year.
I really thought she was old. Okay.
COVID. Well, she is. She's a senior who's supposed to be out. She got a COVID year, so she was taking it. But yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah. LSU, sure, South Carolina, but I think LSU, UConn, or somewhere back at home is where she will go.
But like, what's back at home is what I was trying to figure out.
Like, who? Some of them don't care. Like, she's somebody who wants to win. You can tell.
I just don't know what West Coast team up that way is really in the mix right now.
I don't know. Washington just got a new coach. I don't know anything about them though. Washington State, no, even though they did make the NCAA tournament. And then closer. Not as close as that. But yeah, we will see.
Yeah. My thing is like that whole like back toward home thing. It is kind of weird when you're talking about 1 year. Like to me, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to go pro anyway, like, I don't know. The 1 year just seems like a lot. Unless, for whatever reason, you have, like, there's somebody at home that is too hard for them to travel. That's, that sort of situation. Like, Elena Deladon when she moved back home. Like, that kind of stuff. But, hey, to each their own. They said Kim Mulkey had recruited her to Baylor. And that had been one of her top pick schools. Can certainly see that.
Yeah.
South Carolina, I mean, I can see the NIL money is there. They do a good job there. Obviously, winning is there, and I can see her fitting in the system as well. So, I don't know. That'll be interesting if she drops into the SEC. But yeah, we'll see. Anything else before we move on to the draft?
No.
All right. WNBA Draft was last night. Number 1 pick, Boston, as expected. Any other notable drafts or just takeaways from the draft?
We got Haley Jones and
we meaning Atlanta Dream.
Yes, Atlanta Dream and Letitia Amihir, which I thought were 2 really good pickups. I thought the Amihir one was like people were asleep. Like she's 6'4". Like come on, and she's got the length and the agility and whatever else you call it to like. She's mobile at 6'4", y'all. Like how did you pass that up?
She still seems like even kind of raw, where you're like you could. Yes, the ceiling is so high.
Yes, maybe they didn't want to develop her.
Lazy. No, when they said 6'4" at the bottom, I was like, dang. Like every time I always forget. Like even when you were talking about they should have tried me here at the point guard, it's like try your 6'4". Like, okay. Like, when that's an option, obviously it's crazy. But yeah, like you said, her agility is crazy at 6'4". Her athleticism is crazy at 6'4". Anybody else?
Honestly, honestly, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was nice, clean draft. And
People were coming for Holly Road though.
Yeah.
That was the big thing that I saw. Well, even it's just that like walk around thing that they have to do. I didn't see that part of it yet, but I remember last year and that was awkward. And then the interviews, I think they get a little too sentimental. Yes, I understand like it's a big moment and you want to like talk about that. But like the goal should not be like we're trying to make them cry at this thing. And it's not even like how happy are you? It's like one of the questions was like your mental health, and it was like not one question. It was like 3 questions. It was so I don't know. It just that part needs to be adjusted a little bit. But they just need to like make it a little more fun too. I think it feels like very far away. Like everything feels like far away, even as a viewer. So I just feel like there's another way to go about it, but they haven't figured it out quite yet. But good product. Excited for the WNBA. What teams are you looking forward to seeing this year?
Aces, of course, and New York, and the Dream. You know, always gotta rep the home team.
Rep the hometown.
But yeah, I just want to see these new
super teams.
Yeah, yeah, I just want to see that. So, to be honest,
yeah, no, I was looking at it because they put up New York, and I was like, one, I forgot Brianna Stewart went out there. Second, and Jonquel Jones, like we're doing a lot. But obviously Vegas is stacked as well, so. I mean, that's really what it seems like. It's just the battle of those two for this season. I'd be shocked if anybody else is in the mix. You know, you got Candace Parker at the Aces, and then you're fresh off a championship, and then you add Candace Parker.
Yeah.
So obviously the gravity of that is crazy.
Yeah.
But
and I want to see the Fever too. We'll see how they do with the young crew.
Yeah. You can clearly see, you know, that's what they're trying to do. Even the last couple drafts, just like young, rebuilding. They just haven't quite found it yet.
And they got Erica Wheeler now. So that'll be like the leader and one of the leaders in Fed. So
right. But yeah, Atlanta Dream, Haley Jones, that'll be a good fit. A mix we were talking about, you know, Ryan Howard already there. Cheyenne Parker in the post. Who else were we talking about? Oh, AD. Mm-hmm. Looking to see how their season goes this year and hopefully able to have like a solid role in the offense. So yeah, a lot of basketball to be watched this summer, and obviously we'll be tuning in and talking about it here and there. But yeah, these last 2 podcasts very basketball heavy, but that's because that's mostly what we talk about and what we've been watching. So
and good luck to all those people that's about to go to training camp, because I started to look up some of the teams last night, and it was like 19 people on the roster, or 20 people, and so you obviously know they're taking 12. So
right, which most people don't know. If you're not hip to WNBA, you don't realize there's so few spots. You're talking 12 teams, 12 roster spots, and sometimes, depending on the cap, they're not even using all 12. Yeah. So it is very difficult to make the WNBA roster. So when you talk about there are people in the first round who are not going to be on teams in the NBA, obviously that is unheard of. And when I say that to people, they are so shocked by that. Like, no, even first round, you're not guaranteed that you are even going to end up staying. So very big deal. Obviously means that the product of the WNBA is a very good product. So we'll be watching. We'll be tuned in. Make sure y'all come back in 1 or 2 weeks. 1 week, it'll probably just be me on the podcast. 2 weeks, her. So just let's get used to that rotation. Okay. Anything else before we head out? Before we not see you in 2 weeks?
Nothing. Y'all stay blessed.
Jeez. So much. All right. We'll see y'all next time. It's been 2 Keys in a Pod.